got unanswered questions. I'm looking for a new direction. Live a life of indiscretion.
Thank you. And welcome to Tobago CSI in this series on domestic violence and intimate partner abuse. I am your host, Anne-Marie Degazo, and I want to say a big welcome to our viewers at home and to our live studio audience. Now, data from the Problem Analysis Unit of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service revealed that approximately 11,441 females were victims of abuse during the period 2010 to 2015. During this same period, approximately 131 deaths were recorded, which represent approximately 56% of females. You know, this phenomenon needs to be closely monitored, as we have in our population over the age of 18, approximately 498,009 females. Both the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and the National Domestic Violence Hotline reveal that most of the persons affected by domestic violence are females in our country. You know, very often we see the faces. We hear the pain of the victims. We follow their stories in the newspaper, on television, and in social media. But rarely do we see the perpetrators of the violence. Today, we will explore John's story. John has been affected by abuse and has admitted to being an abuser himself. He has agreed. His life has changed courses many times, and he has agreed to share with us today his story. But let's go to break. And when we return, we'll hear from John.
Right now I'm talking to myself, but I ain't even hearing me. It's like my voice of reason ran away with my sanity. And by rehearsing these lines in these mirrors, it won't change my destiny. As every time I get the urge to leave, he grab me by my weave and tell me without me he can't breathe. I guess my love is his oxygen. But another day in this house with this man is like inhaling nitrogen. How did I end up sleeping with the enemy?
If you are a victim or perpetrator of domestic violence, please call the Domestic Violence Hotline at 800-SAVE, 800-7283. A message from the Ministry of National Security's Citizen Security Program. Stop the violence and abuse. Stay calm and start thinking.
Remember, we don't want to know who you are. We just want your information. Crime Stoppers. It's safe and it works.
The decisions you make today influence your future. You determine where you want to be. Make the right choice. Stop. Stay calm. Start thinking. A message from the Ministry of National Security's Citizen Security Program.
And welcome back to Tobago CSI. Today we'll be discussing the abuser's story with our featured guest, John. For our viewers at home, please know that we've had to protect John's identity, so you will not be able to see his face quite clearly. Okay? So John, welcome to Tobago CSI.
Thank you.
Tell us, who is John?
I like to tell people that I am sum total of everyone that crosses my path, and also, based on my experience, I say that.
Okay. quite a deep statement, and it represents, I suppose, the journey that you have traveled.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so tell us, where did it begin, John?
It started in the 80s when my father started using drugs. He started abusing the family. My mom and my sister were the ones that were abused at that time, and myself and my brother, we were able to see that.
Okay. And when you say your mom was abused, specifically, is there anything that stood out for you?
Well, she was abused in all aspects of life, but the physical aspects of it is what stood out for me, because she was often injured in the process, broken arms, damaged face, bleeding at times, and that kind of abuse.
Okay. And how old were you at that time when you recall these things happening?
I was like 6 years old.
Okay. And tell us about your father.
My father, he was a Port Authority officer. He very intelligent guy, got caught up in the use of cocaine, and as a result of that, it destroyed his family life, it destroyed him as a person, and the family went down because of cocaine use.
Oh, okay. And how did this affect you as a child, seeing your mother being abused?
At the time, I wasn't able to do anything about it, but it was scary. It was very frightening for my brother. Well, my younger sister, she was like 3 years. I don't think she was able to understand what was taking place. But for us, the older ones, it developed a fear in us, a fear that caused us to think different about concerning people, or if I should say the wider society.
Okay, could you explain that a little bit for me, just so that our viewers understand?
Because of that, we developed a fear for people and what they can do to us.
Okay.
So I myself, I became a very aggressive and a defensive person to myself and my family.
Okay, and was that a way of what, protecting yourself or protecting?
Yes, it was a medium to protect myself and to protect my family, my brother and my sister, because I was always physically the bigger one. So I saw the need, even though my brother was older than I saw the need to defend them because of who I became.
Okay, so I want to go back a little bit. You said that you saw your mom being abused, but were you ever abused, John?
I would say mentally. I wouldn't say physically. My father, I got licked once for playing with matches, and I think that was reasonably enough, He wasn't abusive in dispensing the licks, but, I think that was the only time I could recall getting licks from him.
Okay. So tell us one incident that might have stood out in your mind that you think, if you have to put your finger on it, that this is the thing that probably changed me or made me develop a certain kind of attitude.
I think when I saw him place his daughter, which is my sister, he placed her fingers on a stove, a lighting stove, because she stole some from the kitchen, and he disfigured her 2 hands. That in itself was very frightening. It created I would like to say, a monster in me whenever the need arises to defend family members, because I wouldn't like, it was a fear of that happening again, anything like that to happen again.
Okay.
So that is what stood out for me.
All right, I want to jump forward a bit. You are a child, you grew up as a teenager, you went to school normally and that kind of thing. How did this move forward in your interactions with others?
As soon as anybody shout at me too loud, I became really aggressive and start losing nerves heart start racing faster because, you know, you're there, you're thinking that, hey, this might escalate into a fight. So I get into that mode immediately. And my personality was really one that all I cared about was to be with family and around family, because I always thought that they wanted me to be around them, to protect them, and or I actually felt I should be that way.
Right. So you became the protector.
Like something like that.
Oh, okay. And that role you carried through even as a teenager growing up?
Grew up to adulthood, yes.
Still. Okay, wow. Now, John, I want to stick a pin here and maybe bring in our audience. And I think earlier before the show, I had a chance to talk with Steve. And Steve told me that he has something he would like to share with us. Steve, how are you reacting to what John has shared with us? Have you had someone in your family, a loved one, who've been abused and you felt the same way?
I can identify with John's story because, you know, I had a relative that was going through the same physical abuse by her husband, and he carried out all various types of physical beatings to her. And, you know, it affected me in a stage where, you know, most of the time she was coming out the injured party. And it affected me later on in life in the same instances of how John just explained the symptoms that he was relaying when somebody be talking at a higher level to him. So yeah, I can identify with that.
John, we're saying that, and have you found other persons in your interactions who have shared with you similar kinds of emotions?
Yes, sometimes, yes. Meet people who share, they won't share the full story, but you will see them behaving in a certain way, and you will hear some of the story or some of the things that they might say that will lead you to believe that they were affected in that way as well.
Okay, good. So viewers, we've been listening to the story of John, and we'll take a break right now. And when we come back, we bring on set our technical panel to help us to explore further the issues related to what has been shared thus far.
Retrospection, got an answered question.
I'm Samantha John.
I am Nadia Batson.
The incredible Myron B.
I'm K.I. Chucky Gordon.
Hi, my name is Sheriff.
And we are Freetown.
And I'm urging each and every citizen of our beautiful country.
It's time for us to put a stop to crime and violence in Trinidad and Tobago once and for all.
In Freetown, we believe that every citizen has the right to life.
We need to be responsible not only for ourselves but for others as well. I think the only way to counteract any kind of fear is to inject love.
We have the power to stand up, to unite, to stay positive, and to win back our country. Build a culture of lawfulness, peace, respect, love, harmony.
The Citizen Security Program.
Stop the violence and abuse.
Stop the violence and abuse. Stay calm.
Stay calm. Stay calm.
Stay calm and start thinking.
Start thinking.
And start thinking.
A message from the Citizen Security Program. Stop the violence and abuse. Stay calm and start thinking.
No, I'm not ready for that.
Stop. Stay calm. Start thinking.
Okay, cool.
Later.
A message from the Ministry of National Security's Citizen Security Program.
Remember, we don't want to know who you are. We just want your information. Crime Stoppers. It's safe and it works.
Welcome back to Tobago CSI, and we've been listening to John's story as he shared with us his life experiences and how the abuse impacted him negatively as a child. Joining us on set is Dr. Sharon Brown and Pastor Michael Williams, who will help us to explore further the issues related to the abuser. Dr. Brown, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I started in mental health and counseling as a social worker in the inner city with women and families, and also going on to teach at USC here in Tobago, where I teach psychology, and also getting a PhD in educational leadership. So I just love educating, I love imparting knowledge, and that's what I'm doing here in Tobago.
Oh, great. So you fit real nicely with Tobago CSI. Yeah. Pastor Williams, tell us a little about yourself.
I am a minister of the gospel. I've been a minister over 25 years.
Yeah.
I'm presently pastor of Lambo Church of God.
Okay.
And been a minister involved in many situations and families and problems. Right. And so I've been trained and I think I'm qualified to help in any way to speak.
Great. Okay, so welcome to Tobago CSI, Pastor Williams. Nice of both of you to join. And I'm sure that offset you were listening to John's story. And as he shared his experience as a child, growing up in a home where there was some abuse. Tell us, Dr. Brown, maybe first I can ask you to give us your reaction to that and help us to understand what's happening with a child living in a situation like that.
Sure. Usually when a child is exposed to violence at a very young age, it can be very traumatic. And if there is not some type of intervention, usually at that age to deal with those issues, you'll see what's called post-traumatic stress disorder.
Right.
And what that is just simply when a person is in a certain situation where the situation may look similar to what they experienced as a child, they tend to become very defensive. And I could hear, even in John's voice, as he was talking, he was sharing about the anger that he went through, the anxiety that he had, sort of a withdrawn behavior, and sometimes feeling helpless, hopeless in that situation. So you'd see that a lot of times that anger will come out in different periods of his life if it was not taken care of at that time. So we need interventions. That interventions is needed, especially when you're going through a traumatic situation.
Tell us about your experience being a pastor. Have you had to deal with similar situations, and what has been your experience?
Well, I've seen situations like this before, and in some cases it matured into violence in terms of the abuser, and then one has to now have interventions, as a doctor spoke about, with the accuser, the abuser. And so we would set up different places where that person could come to, so that they could be help could be given to them.
So, Dr. Brown, tell me, I was quite surprised to hear John saying how he became so protective of his family. I might have expected a different type of reaction from a child being in that situation of abuse. Could you explain for us what happened there?
Sure. When a child is exposed to violence at a very young age, many things are happening. That child learns from very young to be very defensive. For instance, they want to protect their family, protect themselves, first of all. And as that child continues to grow, if there's not intervention, that child only intensifies what's inside that child, and that's that desire to protect not only himself but his family. And that's what I understood John was saying, because when he was 6, he was seeing this violence that was being given to his mother, and he probably thought in his mind, what can I do? But he was so young at the time. Right. But now he's a grown man, and there's nothing that can stop him. So what I was hearing in his voice was not only anger, but it was also anxiety and also depression. All of these things are starting to build in a child of this nature. And as they get older through the teens, adolescence, and now the adult, there's nothing that can stop him, because this anger, without interventions, he's going to come out, and he's going to come out with fire in his eyes, because he wants to make sure that he protects himself and those that he loves the most.
Quite an interesting scenario, and left unchecked, we are seeing that the progression into abuse is possible.
That's all that happens.
So, John, tell us, did this happen with you? Was there a stage in your life where you felt that need to protect became an explosive situation for you?
Yes. Myself and my brother and my sisters, we grew up without our parents. And because of that, I felt I need to be that kind of person to them, because mother wasn't there, father wasn't there. So I had to be that person, and being that person is like, you know, you're overprotective of everything. You don't want nobody yelling at them. You don't want to see them cry. You know, I even had the thought sometimes that I rather all things happen to me rather than it happen to them. So
Okay.
that's what happened.
Okay, and so could you tell us of any specific incident where that protective instinct came out and you saw the results of it?
Yes, in many different ways. In one way, we grew with our aunts, and my younger sister, she would call my aunt mommy, and her cousins will say, no, that's not your mommy, that's my mommy, and that would have affected me because it's true. So I would step in and comfort her as a child, and there was another situation where my brother got stabbed in his back by another guy, and I got involved, and I laid several chop wounds on that guy, and the thing about that is I couldn't stop. You know, I would just keep going and going and going, and someone had to come and hold me for me to stop, because, you know, at that time I probably think, you know, I didn't want this to happen again. And, you know, the nature of what happened to my brother, I think it triggered, you know, a rage in me that, you know, I eventually asked God the night, you know, to never let me get so violent and aggressive again.
And was that the only occasion in your life that you felt that you had to step in and protect your family that turned into situations of abuse?
There were other instances where my brother got his face burst in a party at one night, and I think in those situations I usually, I don't know if to use the word, you know, overbeat or, you know, but I think I usually get too violent.
But let me slow you down a bit there, John, and help to explain for our viewers what's happening with you that puts you to the point where you can't stop. Were you able to identify the process as it is happening with you?
Now, as I am older, I can look back and say that, you know, it was compulsive behavior. It was a behavior that would give me the assurance that you wouldn't make that mistake again. Right. You know, it was all about making sure that you don't ever try that again, because I am here. I don't think it was being a bully. It was more or less defending my family.
Okay. And how else have the abuse in your family affected you from your perspective? Are there other ways that this impacted on your life?
Yes, when I would hear my cousins or one of my cousin boyfriend, and when I heard them getting into a fight, it reminded me of my mother and my father. And I was like ready to eat him up, you know, because I'm big now. So I'm not seeing mother and father, but I'm hearing cousin and boyfriend calling in the other room. I might see her face bruised, and that will trigger the emotions in me that will want me to, you know, be that kind of person. And even apart from that, you know, I wouldn't even speak to that guy, you know, when I see him, because of that kind of behavior that he is exhibiting around me.
And would you say that you yourself would have taken on some abusive tendency, even if it wasn't physical abuse? Have you had any other types of abusive situations in your life?
Yes, as an adult, I started selling crack cocaine. I sold crack cocaine for many years. It was my job, actually. It's really sad to say, but, you know, it was like that. And I justified it by saying, someone sold my father, it destroyed my family, so it's no problem for me to sell it to other people. And the addicts that I sold to, when they owe, I would become an abuser. Especially when the other people is calling on me for their money, I am now starting to see things differently, and, you know, I start abusing them. I kick them, I slap them, I, you know, try to harm them in any different way.
Yeah. Okay, I want to go to our audience now. Interesting information coming out here. And I actually put you on a spot a bit to ask you a question. Is John an abuser or an abused person, based on what you've been hearing so far? In front, tell me.
I think he is abused.
He's abused. All right, so let's see. One more person. Lady in the black jacket. Tell me, what's your name?
Carol Fraser Davidson.
Okay, and Carol, where are you from?
Speyside.
So is John an abused or an abuser?
He is an abused. Even from his childhood, he has been abused psychologically.
Right.
He, where he has been witnessing all that has been done to his mother. So automatically, it has been playing on his mind. So, we think that abuse is just, physical, where, they hit him. He was not hit, but that has destroyed him from his childhood. Okay. And we can even look at the hen and the chick, where in defense, the hen will be going smoothly, but as soon as you try to interfere with her chick,
she's ready.
She attacks.
Okay,
so
great.
I see that happening with him.
Thank you, Carol. And it seems our audience is really heating up here. I have gentlemen seated in the back. You want to weigh in on this? Is John abused or abuser?
John is a victim of circumstances.
Okay. So abused or abuser?
Both.
Both.
Right. And I want to expand a little bit on this. I think we all are victim of circumstances, whoever we are, wherever we are.
Thank you very much to our live studio audience. So, Dr. Brown, come in here. Okay. It almost begs your thoughts in here. Abused, abuser, we're hearing both. We're hearing abused.
I think both also. And I just wanted to capitalize on genetics and what comes down through the family line, because I had a client once when the grandmother brought the client in. He's so violent, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's fighting, he's throwing things, he's hitting, he's trying fire. And I just did simply a little activity with the grandmother, showing from 2 generations down how the grandfather, father coming down had the same tendencies. And the grandma started crying because she knew it was true. So that is true. In the family, sometimes a lot of these behaviors come down. But like I said, with interventions, we can stop it. And that's where treatment and knowledge comes, like this program from CSI.
So tell me, John, when did it change for you?
Well, I became a drug addict. I started using my own supply, and I ended up in a rehab center where I was forced to speak up about my life from childhood. I had a counselor. He asked me to do these exercises, write these things on paper from early childhood to now. And I think that's where my emotions started to change. When I started writing these things, I came down in tears every time I write them. It was not new because it was always in me. So writing it on paper, it became a reality because I always hid it somewhere inside of me. But writing it on paper, I became face to face with it, and it made me cry. It made me remember what took place, and I think that is where I started feeling better about that situation, and I started forgiving my father for the things that he had done to the family. So that is where my healing actually started for this particular instance.
Right. Good. Some interesting things coming out there, John, and I think we're moving to a different stage of the discussion here. We're going to take a break right now, and when we come back, Pastor Mike, I want to hear from you in relation to how the church is responding to assisting individuals like John, and we will also open up and allow our audience to ask some questions and get some answers to what's happening in here. Thank you very much for listening to us. Stay tuned as you're watching Tobago CSI.
Retrospection, got an answered question.
The decisions you make today influence your future. You determine where you want to be. Make the right choice. Stop. Stay calm. Start thinking. A message from the Ministry of National Security's Citizen Security Program.
Remember, we don't want to know who you are. We just want your information. Crime Stoppers. It's safe and it works.
Kisha, you know this girl coming here?
What's that?
I can't remember her name. But if you hear the kinds of things this girl is saying about you.
Serious? Like what?
Girl, all kind of things.
Go study it. We go fix that. I hear you talking about me.
You hear me talking about
huh?
you? Don't worry, y'all back up. Y'all back up here. Y'all back up here.
Stop the violence and abuse. Stay calm. Start thinking.
Well, people talk, yes.
The Ministry of National Security's Citizen Security Program.
And welcome back to Tobago CSI. We've been listening to the abuser's story, and we've been hearing from John as well as our technical panel, Dr. Sharon Brown and Pastor Michael Williams. Pastor Mike, before the break, we talked about you weighing in on, from the perspective of a minister of the gospel and the church, what needs to be done to support persons like John in ending the abuse? What help is available?
Well, as a faith-based organization, we can provide an environment for persons like John to come and to speak with us one-to-one, to have a support group system where we could, as a confidential area, we could, besides praying with him and using the Bible as an instrument of counseling and helping him, and we could provide that one-to-one, face-to-face support for him and others like him, to let him know that he's not alone and that he can be forgiven and stuff like that.
Right.
And there's help from God and others for him to go through.
It's interesting, Pastor Mike, that you're referring to persons needing to know that they're forgiven.
Yes.
Is that important for someone who has been in abuse and as an abuser?
Yes, because from John's dialogue with us, we recognize that even he himself need that space in which he would forgive the person.
Right.
And then he himself receive forgiveness and think, okay, God can forgive me and God can forgive my father, my family.
Right.
And so there will be a peace now within him and the strength to move on. He'll find a willpower now to see things differently.
Okay. And that's important at this stage.
Very important.
So Dr. Brown, from a psychological perspective, with the individual being able to stop, being able to transition, as John would have said, and accept the help that is needed, what's important to be considered?
Well, first of all, that person, John would have to understand that this is what I was. Once he accepts that as he's done and acknowledge that this is what I've done, then that change process can begin. And when the change process begins, you want to work through it. It's not an overnight process because you're dealing with anxiety. That's one issue. You're dealing with depression. That's another issue. You're dealing with anger. There's so many different facets, but you work with them one at a time, and you do that through mental health treatment, one at a time. And along with the spiritual and the guidance, from the spiritual being forgiven, also you're working with the actual issues that he went through, going through them one by one, as he said, writing them down, acknowledging this is the person I am. So you're looking at it in the face. This is me. This is what I was.
Right.
And you're saying, this is what I was. Well, this is what I want to be. I want to turn a new leaf, and I want to be this person. It takes time, but it's a process. And because you're acknowledging this, that I was this violent person, and yes, you've forgiven your father, I don't want to be like that anymore. Right. and you just work through it one day at a time, one day at a time. And as you become the new person and you're enjoying that new person, then you're putting aside those old ways.
Okay, so Pastor Mike, back at you again. Apart from dealing with the spiritual self and helping persons to understand the importance of forgiveness, are there other tangible ways that you believe that the church can support persons in working through situations of abuse as an abuser?
Yes, I think the church could provide a body system where the person can have a body of support to walk them through this process. And so that along the way they know that there's someone who is with me who will be able to help me as I go through this process to come out of it and become stronger. Because two are better together.
Right.
And so this is where the church provides that confidential person and support system. Also, perhaps even the environment where they can come and be themselves and just talk and even help other persons go through the same process. So they themselves now become a helper.
It's interesting that you say that. John, for you, in your recovery process, did you have such a person in your life?
Yes. The guys that I shared, the rehab center with, we would, at times we would share our stories, different types of stories with each other, and I think that was very therapeutic for us to share. It's a healing, even though we didn't see it or recognize it as healing, but sharing with each other in that aspect and what we are sharing about. Sometimes you would hear one say, yes, I used to go through this or I used to go through that, and then you recognize that you're not alone. So it's always nice to share, and that's part of my recovery process, being able to share with the guys that I did rehabilitation with.
Okay, good. So I want to give you a few moments maybe to just give your final, anything you want to say to us at this time before we invite the audience to ask us some questions. How does John's story end?
Well, today I'm a really, positive and productive person. I can safely say that I'm a productive member of society. I hold on a job every day. I also volunteered my services at the rehab center for a short time. I still do it whenever it's necessary.
Excellent.
I also speak life into people. I no longer sell drugs, so I've replaced selling drugs with sharing with the guys that are in the rehab center and anybody that crosses my path. How important it is to be positive and to live a lifestyle that people could identify with you and like being around you. In other words, sobriety.
Yes.
And what I like to say is, whatever we feed will grow, and whatever we starve will die.
Right.
In other words, when you speak out, your life challenges, it actually dies.
Yes.
And a new life begins. So I would like to leave that, with the listening audience. Whatever you starve will die, and whatever you feed will grow.
Thank you, John, so very much for sharing with us today. I really appreciate the strength that you've shown in being able to move through the stages of your life to where you are today. Really, really, thanks for being with us and sharing that today. So right now, we're going to go to our audience because, panelists, we have some questions for you. So I want to get down close up so we can have a chat with you, okay? So our first question will come from, tell us your name.
My name is Dwell.
Dwell, where are you from?
From Canby.
From?
Canby.
Canby. So what's your question?
My first question is to the panel. In a situation as John would have grown up, what are the requirements? What steps are being taken to assist a child in such a situation?
Okay, so I believe, Dr. Brown, that's for you. What services are available for children, or what should be put in place?
Well, right now we have the Child and Adult Center, where we have a psychologist who can be able to talk to children. Also, we have the social services, where you can be able to get counseling there and be able to talk to someone about the situation and get help for that child. Also, we're trying to put in place different centers at various churches where people who live in that vicinity can come and be able to talk to somebody privately and confidentially about their issues.
Great, excellent. And you have another question?
Yes, my question this time is for John. How has your past experiences affected your relationships?
Basically, no. I saw what I didn't want to be in terms of a man to a woman, and basically, I never wanted to abuse a woman because I loved my mother very much. I loved my sister, so I knew, I knew what they went through. So I've never felt that way towards them because, I knew what they went through. So I always wanted to be, a Mr. Lover man to my sisters and to my girlfriend or whoever is the person in my life.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Dwell. Thank you, John, for your answer. And we have another question from the gentleman in the back here. Tell us your name.
Richard.
Hi, Richard. Where are you from?
Calder Hall.
Calder Hall. So what's your question?
My question is to John. John, seeing that you have had experience in this, can you tell me what practices you have practiced to better curb your anger?
Oh, good question.
Well, the first thing I did was to recognize who I was, knowing that I came from an abusive home. I actually identified with that. Then, I spoke to the relevant people. I also practiced, a lot of tolerance because I wasn't able to tolerate people and the behaviors that would have triggered me a lot. So I learned to practice a lot of tolerance and to modify my behavior in terms of my personality and character defects. I dealt with these issues, and these are the issues that I dealt with that caused me to be a better person today.
Oh, good. And let me ask a follow-up, John. Did you do this on your own or did you have help?
The rehab center I went to, it's called the TC. It's a therapeutic community where they deal with attitudes and behaviors, lifestyle and identity changes. And these are the things, that's the place where I got my help from.
And that's available in Tobago?
It's available in Tobago.
Oh, fantastic.
I am really pleased to hear how John came through his process. Yeah. And indeed, he's now a role model for others who are experiencing similar situations and want help to come out. And I like the idea that he is making himself available to assist. And certainly, we would partner with him as a church organization to have him come in and share with our people, perhaps. Right. So sensitize the community where help can be found and how they can prevent such instances in families.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. And Dr. Brown?
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback after Pastor Michael and say that I really applaud you for the step that you've taken. And coming to speak to others, I think, is a really good idea. I just wanted to say to the community that's listening, if you are abused or an abuser, remember there's help out there. And that's why we're here today. Remember, if you change your thinking, you will indefinitely change your life. And that's what this program is all about.
That's right. Good words. And John, you have the final say. Final comments.
I want to say that you could change what you see when you change how you look.
You have such words. I like those words that you have. You can change what you see.
When you change how you look.
When you change how you look.
Meaning how you look at things, it could definitely build you or break you.
Oh, great. And I couldn't say it any better than that. So to our viewing audience, we'll take a break right now. And when we return, we have a special surprise for our audience.
I'm Samantha John.
I am Nadia Batson.
The incredible Myron B.
I'm K.I. Chucky Gordon.
Hi, my name is Sheriff.
And we are Freetown.
and I'm urging each and every citizen of our beautiful country.
It's time for us to put a stop to crime and violence in Trinidad and Tobago once and for all.
In Freetown, we believe that every citizen has the right to life.
We need to be responsible not only for ourselves but for others as well. I think the only way to counteract any kind of fear is to inject love.
We have the power to stand up, to unite, to stay positive, and to win back our country. Build a culture of lawfulness, peace, respect, love, harmony.
The Citizen Security Program.
Stop the violence and abuse.
Stop the violence and abuse. Stay calm.
Stay calm. Stay calm.
Stay calm and start thinking.
Start thinking.
And start thinking.
A message from the Citizen Security Program. Stop the violence and abuse. Stay calm and start thinking.
Remember, we don't want to know who you are. We just want your information. Crime Stoppers. It's safe and it works.
The decisions you make today influence your future. You determine where you want to be. Make the right choice. Stop. Stay calm. Start thinking. A message from the Ministry of National Security's Citizen Security Program.
One bite. I want to play.
Oh, you can do that, boy. Oh, you can do that, boy.
Stop the violence and abuse. Stay calm. Start thinking. The Ministry of National Security's Citizen Security Program.
Welcome back to Tobago CSI, and now we have the excitement. We reward our beautiful studio audience. They've been so good today as we've been listening to the abuser's story on this episode of Tobago CSI. Now we have our lucky seat down there, and I'm told that our lucky number today is number 36. Who's sitting on number 36? Come on, come on, come on. Check your seats. Number 36. Who is number 36? Oh, yeah. Hey, we're come on up. We have a lucky winner. Oh, she can't move. Come on up. Yeah. And come on up. Tell us your name. And you are?
Oh, my name is Carol Fraser Davidson. And I'm really, surprised here today. I'm overwhelmed. Stand up and break the silence.
Okay, great. So on behalf of Lynn Plus Boutique, we have this little gift for you. Thank you very much. Now, this has been Tobago CSI, and we reviewed the abuser's story, brought to you courtesy the Citizen Security Program. Now, as we go, remember to stop the violence and abuse, stay calm, and start thinking. And now we'll get some music from Khadijah.
As I lay me down, heaven hear me now. I'm lost without a cause. After giving it my all, winter storms have come and darkened my sun. But after all that I've been through, who on earth can I look to? I look to you. I look to you. After all my strength is gone, in you I can be strong. I look to you. I look to you. Yeah. And when melodies are gone, in you I hear a song. I look to you. About to lose my breath. There's no more fighting left. I'm sinking to rise no more. I'm searching for an open door. And every road that I've taken has led to my regret. I don't know how I'm gonna make it. Nothing to do but lift my hands. I look to you. I look to you. Yes. After all my strength is gone, in you I can be strong. I look to you. Gone. In you I hear a song. I look to you. Oh, oh, the rain is falling. Oh, set me free. Take me far away from the battle. To you, yeah. After all my strength is gone, in you I can be strong. I look to you. Ooh, I look to you. Oh, and when melodies are gone, oh, in you I hear a song. I look to you. I look to you. I look to you. Thank you very much.
Retrospection. Got an answered question. I'm looking for a new direction. Live a life of indiscretion.